Hey, welcome World Entertainment. Hope you're all having a good day and had a good weekend and stuff. I know it's Memorial Day in the US, so have a good long weekend. We are, of course, back talking about this, the Odyssey and the controversy around Lupita Nyong'o's comments, because she's doubling down on the comments now, pushing back against criticism over the casting and stuff. However, the internet is going to internet, and they've called her out flat out, and rightfully so, as a pure hypocrite, because old footage and comments have resurfaced about other things she took part in, like Black Panther, and things she didn't take part in for a particular reason, like The Woman King. Yeah, she's getting called out for her double standards because she's made comments, and the funny thing is, it's all about, oh, you have to do representation properly, especially of African culture. And that's where the criticism's coming in. It's like, hang on, you can't say you need to represent your culture absolutely perfectly, but it's okay to piss about with other people's cultures. So we're going to have a look at the video that is out there, which came up during Black Panther. But she also apparently refused to take part in The Woman King. She was offered a role. I'm not sure if it was the main role or not, but she was offered a role in The Woman King. And she turned it down because she said it didn't represent that culture properly. Which, ironically, she is somewhat correct about that, because the tribe that was the heroes of that movie aren't actually heroes at all. They are the world's biggest slave traders that there was. So she's right that they didn't actually get that stuff right. But she said no because it wasn't reflecting their culture properly and stuff like that. And it's one of these things where you're just kind of going, yeah, you're not really getting this stuff right. So she said in a new interview, or possibly the same interview, this, where it was regarding the backlash towards the casting of her in as Helen of Troy. And of course, Helen's all of a sudden magical twin sister, which just makes absolutely no sense. But as you can see, it says, Lupita Nyong'o on her casting as Helen of Troy in the Odyssey being met with discourse, where she said this: I'm very supportive of Chris's intention with it and with the version of this story that he is telling. Our cast is representative of the world. I'm not spending my time thinking of defense. The criticism will exist whether I engage with it or not. Now, that is what she said regarding the whole casting of not just the sounds of it, but by the likes of Zendaya and Ellen Page and all this stuff. That phrase of it's representative of the world, there's also massive backlash to right now, because it says that particular line, our cast is representative of the world, has sparked renewed debate online because many fans argue the Odyssey is not intended to represent the entire world. It's a story deeply rooted in ancient Greek mythology, culture, geography, and history. Now keep in mind, and you're going to be seeing the clip soon of Lupita talking about how you have to represent culture, African culture, properly. And yet, here it is about her saying, oh, it's only mythology, it's not real and stuff. It's like, Black Panther's not real. The country of Wakanda is not real, even though there's some window lickers who think it is. So Homer's Odyssey specifically centers on Odysseus' journey home following the Trojan War. The narrative is instinctually tied to Greek identity and Mediterranean mythology. Critics of Nolan's casting approach argue that treating the material as a modern, globalized narrative rather than a culturally specific Greek story fundamentally changes the narrative of the work. It absolutely does. and that is a massive issue. So, what did she say that is being called out now as you being a pure hypocrite when it comes to African culture being treated properly and represented properly in a completely made up story about a superhero in Africa? Let's take a look, shall we? Here is what she said.
What Black Panther shows us is that there is a whole host of people who get the misrepresentation that Africa has had and who respect the continent, want to reinvestigate the continent and re-represent the continent. And that's important to me because I'm all about the demystification of the African continent.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be.
You know, oftentimes the African continent, when it's portrayed in cinema, it's very general, and we were all hell-bent on it not being general. So the fact that, you know, our fictitious African nation speaks the language Xhosa, we needed to learn that language, we needed to, you know, get the accent in English and everything. Though it's a fictitious nation, it is brought to life and derived from real African cultures. And so even with the costumes, Ruth Carter talks about researching the Tuareg, the Maasai, the Dogon, the Surma. And hopefully there is a celebration as a result, a respect for these very wealthy and diverse cultures that often just get washed as one thing.
So, it's okay to completely misrepresent other cultures, just not your own culture, eh? Yeah, that really is double standards. This brings me back and makes me think of, what's his name, Isaac, the dude who played Chef in South Park, where he had no issues taking the ever-loving piss out of every other culture's religion. And the one time they did it to his, he quit the show. If you remember that. And it's just this bizarre double standards. And, like, the fact that she said this stuff and thinking, like, that's not going to come back and bite her in the ass. The fact that she turned down the Woman King because it didn't represent the culture properly. And now, when it comes to the Odyssey, her excuse is, well, it's just mythology. What's the big deal? It's like, you're literally saying a superhero in a country that's not real and doesn't exist needs to represent a culture absolutely 100% properly, but when it comes to another cultures, you don't care. It's just mythology. It makes no sense. And of course, she's getting blasted. Like, Lupita Nyong'o is facing new criticism online over resurfaced comments she made about Marvel's Black Panther, African culture and representation, as the backlash continues over her casting as Helen of Troy in Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. Nyong'o plays two roles in the film: Helen of Troy, the daughter of Zeus and Leda, and Helen's sister. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her name. The debate started after Nyong'o defended Nolan's casting by pointing out the Odyssey is a mythological story. And again, yeah, that's where the big issue comes in. It's, you can't just sit there and pick and choose. Well, this one's only a made-up story, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're literally starring in a superhero movie and you're trying to say you need to represent our culture absolutely 100% perfectly. Okay. Did she have that argument when in Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, they made the force field open by, if you remember, playing the drums? Do you remember that? It's literally like a turnstile table that comes up and they have to play drums to open the... It was like, whoa. This is just insane to me. It's like, why do they keep doing this? Why do actors and directors and Hollywood producers and all these idiots keep doing this? You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, you need to represent me absolutely perfectly, but everything else be damned. It doesn't care. As long as I get a paycheck, it makes no sense. But this has come back to bite her in the ass badly. Now the only question is, what happens with the movie? Does this affect the movie? Probably won't. It won't at all. But again, as I said in my last video about this is possibly going to be the most successful bomb ever. And what I meant by that, and I'll say it again here, is that it'll make all the money, but the reaction to it will be like, what the hell did we just watch? It's going to be very interesting. But she's nothing but a hypocrite, aren't they all at this stage? So with that, let me know what you think. Do like, share, subscribe and all that good stuff. Cheers, and I shall catch you in the next one.